So you're starting your new job and it is a remote work type job. How do you crush it in the first 90 days when you aren't going to be feeling the commute and getting walked around the office, seeing people and getting vibes of how it's going to go there? Well, in this video, based on my 20 years of experience in the industry and helping tons of people, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to absolutely destroy your first 90 days and really excel. You're going to love these tips. Stay tuned. Let's go. Listen, getting a new job is always exciting, and the first 90 days is your opportunity to really establish who you are, how you work, and excel at crushing that work. A lot of expectations are slightly lowered when you first start because everybody's real. You got to onboard, you got to figure out how things are going. Well, there are tons of opportunities and best practices that you should be leveraging in order to not just excel at delivering work for your business in your current capacity, but also establishing relationships, networking, and understanding how the vibe is of the social dynamics of how things work, especially with your boss and your peers. So these 5 tips, you take advantage of them, and I promise you they will deliver value. Number 1 tip is setting up one-on-one meetings with your boss and your coworkers and your peers. So listen, when you are going to be emailing people back and forth, if you don't have any type of established relationship, there's no context. Like when they're reading an email, are you aggressive? Are you chill? Are you joking around? By setting up a one-on-one meeting with the people on your team that you're going to be interacting with day in and day out, be your direct boss, which they really should be the one setting up, but you can get in front of it by setting up the meeting first, and see kind of the stakeholders that you would be interacting with in your current role. You are going to be extending that initial olive branch of friendship and opportunity to, hey, this is who I am, who are you? Let me figure it out. Establishing that first contact and getting a vibe for what this person is, right? So let's just use a quick example. Say I got hired as a GRC analyst. Yes, absolutely crushing it, GRC Mafia. Right away, I'm going to want to talk with, obviously, the director of GRC or the CISO, depending on how it is. Let's lay out, in this meeting, by the way, with your boss, you want to lay out, hey, what is like the most pressing problem for you right now? Really, you should have talked about this in the interview, but what's the most pressing problem or 2-3 problems? This should be an indicator to you as what you should be focusing on first and foremost as the biggest challenges to knock out right away. By getting those knocked out, you're going to impress your boss and basically be the belle of the ball. Now, that's with your boss, setting expectations, understanding how they work and what their expectations are. 2, your peers. Like, let's say you're on a team with like 3-4 people. Maybe they're all GRC people. Maybe you're the one GRC person. Everybody else is like SecOps or vulnerability management, whatever. Set up a one-on-one meeting. Yes, you could meet them at the general team meeting, but people are different in one-on-one conversations than they are in a group setting. Someone might be introverted and not really want to share. Someone may not want to explore or expose something that is personal to them in a group setting. Whatever it is, we're talking a 30-minute meeting with an individual. And really, hey, steal this. Just send them an email and say, hey, Bob, it's great to be on the team. I'm excited. I was wondering if I could get 20 minutes, I'd say 20 minutes just to meet and greet and figure out what you do here and what I've been told I'm going to be doing here, just so we can talk through it and understand what's going on. It's part of my onboarding. Do that with each of the people on your team. And then finally, some key stakeholders, and this is going to really depend on what role you are. But again, like let's say you're the GRC analyst person. Maybe you set up a meeting with maybe not the head of IT, but like the person who's in charge of like endpoint management or the person who's in charge of communications, right? It doesn't have to be all technical. As a GRC person, you are going to be educating end users, right? For example, so maybe you talk to the communications team or the HR team or general counsel or whatever and say, hey, just want to get 15 minutes of your team. Just want to meet and greet. The people you are emailing, they work there already. They're fully aware that you're new and that this is an opportunity for them to get to know you. And by the way, you're absolutely slaying it already because you are being proactive. You are the one who is taking initiative and setting up those conversations. It's going to pay huge dividends. Step number 2, this is a technical one. Take advantage of a tool called Loom. Now, Loom, Loom.com, I drop a link below. They do have a free tier, but essentially Loom has this capability for you to put a Google Chrome extension, and effectively what it does is it allows you to very easily record your screen. Now, Now listen, the benefit and beauty of this is, you can see right here, I saved 19 hours of live conversation. You can film all sorts of stuff in Loom and then share it. So instead of having a meeting to discuss it, or instead of having, trying to write this really long email and make it all confusing, you can film something. You can see right here, here's me doing a tutorial. Someone basically covered for me during my live streams when I was on vacation. I gave him a step-by-step tutorial on how to use the platform. Look at, I'm doing a review of a document right here, giving resume feedback. This tool is phenomenal, right? So here's my little area. You can see this is one particular video. You just click hyperlink, right, to share, and you email it to them. The whole benefit of Loom is whenever you're trying to explain something, like someone says, hey, check out this contract, what do you think? Or you have a problem with some type of control, right? Like, oh, hey, this doesn't configure correctly or whatever. Instead of explaining it, you can literally show them. I've been using Loom for like 2 or 3 years. It's phenomenal. Hence why I'm letting you know about it. Again, there's a free tier. Totally use it. It's super awesome. I would absolutely do that. Bonus tip number 3. This is actually 2.5. There's a tool that I will link to called Power Tools, right? In Zoom It. There is a tool called Zoom It. It's free. It's from Microsoft, and it basically sits in your sys tray and it allows you to zoom in and to write on a screen. I use this all the time. Super powerful. If you pair it with Loom, you'll be able to not only make instructional videos, but you can draw exactly where you want the person to look. It is highly, highly effective at visual communication. Number 3, this is a quick one, and again, your boss should be doing this. Set up a recurring meeting with your boss. Now, weekly might be a little aggressive, but no later than monthly, right? If you have a small team and you have regular team meetings, good to go. If you don't have team meetings or whatever, set up a weekly 30-minute meeting with your boss. Have it on the calendar. You can always cancel it if need be. And if your boss is regularly canceling it, I would advise you to ask them to choose a different time that's more accommodating to their schedule. But basically, meet with your boss. Make sure you tell them what you've been working on, what obstacles you're facing, what challenges you need their help with, and where you're thinking about going next. Also, make sure you ask your boss, what is their biggest pain points? What are their challenges? Make sure the work you're doing continues to support the problems they're having, because that's what a work relationship looks like from a boss to a subordinate type role. Your boss will appreciate this, and nothing will like fester or sit for any period of time, because you'll always have that 1 week opportunity. Plus, bonus alert, again, this is first 90 days, but eventually you're going to be like, hey, I want to get promoted. Instead of just dropping this at a performance review, you'll have these regular recurring meetings. You could say, hey, I want to get promoted. Reviews come up in 6 months. What should I be doing now to help me get promoted then, right? Let your boss give you the expectations, and then you can meet them. And then when it comes time for review, if you don't get promoted, you can be like, what the hell? Like, we talked about this, you agreed, and now you're doing this. That's a bigger indicator, red flag. Number 4, and this is a big one, make sure you manage your work-life balance. Working remotely can feel really, really easy to get confused and blurred between when work ends and when personal life starts. Your computer's right there. You can jump in on the weekends. A lot of people on their phone checking emails and stuff like that. Good. If you want to be a workaholic and go ham on it, that's, your own prerogative, and I'm not going to judge you for that. What I want you to know is really have clear lines of when you're at work and when you're not at work, and respect those boundaries both for your employer as well as your family, right? If you're not present for your family or for your loved ones or for your friends, A, it's not fair to them, and B, it's not doing you a service, because you do need time to decompress and to digest and to relax. Mental health is a real thing in cybersecurity, so make sure you're taking that time. Make sure there isn't scope creep on your work. If you have the opportunity, some people will have like a separate room for where work happens. Personally, this kind of ties into it. I've worked remotely for years now. I get up and shower, I get dressed, I get ready for work. I know there was all this like rumors or whatever you want to call it of like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like wearing pajamas to work right when the pandemic first started. Like, oh, like not shower, not brush. I'm like, no, get ready for work. It's a mindset. It's a mind state. If you want to crush it in the first 90 days and going forward, you've got to have the mindset that I'm at work. You've got to have the mindset that I'm done with work and now I'm home, even though those two sites physically co-locate with each other. 5, final tip. This one's a little bit of a weak tip, but make sure, and I'm telling you, this is huge, make sure that you validate and bookmark all the resources that you can get. When you first start working, maybe you get an HR manual, maybe you get an IT manual. Hey, here's a link to the SharePoint. Here's a link to download softwares that are approved. Here's a link to your payroll and paychecks and stuff like that. Here's a link to your 401k. All of that stuff, right? Some of them you have financial interest in, but all of them, even the SharePoint, even the things that you may not use very often, make sure that A, you can log in and access it, B, bookmark it, and use an intelligent bookmark that you would remember in a way that like, oh, I can't remember what that SharePoint was called, but it was definitely to do with HR. So maybe you name the bookmark HR, Human Resources, SharePoint. So when you search on your bookmarks, you can find it easily. The point of validating and bookmarking all these resources at the beginning is twofold. One, if you can't access it, you can get immediate fix for that, because the last thing you want is to be on work travel or Friday afternoon and you need to access something and all of a sudden you can't access it because you'd never tried, and the people who can help you have gone away for the weekend or they left already or whatever, right? There's a million different reasons. So make sure that you can access it and get help if you can. And two, bookmark it, because you look way more organized and have your crap together if you're never having to ask people like, hey, can you send me the link for that SharePoint? Or, hey, I don't remember that thing. Isn't there that thing? No, second brain this thing, have it all lined up, get all the resources, be the person that people want to message. Hey, Jerry, you always have the right links and resources. Can you share X with me? Yeah, sure, no problem. Boom. Now you become an asset to everybody, and it's just a small thing that you can do. All right, those are 5 tips. I think they're wicked bangers. Let me know what you think in chat. If you have another tip on how to crush it in your first 90 days when you're working remotely, put them in the comments below. I'll pin them, I'll heart them, I'll do all the things to them. Basically, it's all good to go. Now, if you want to know how to crush it in 90 days at a more traditional job where some of the tips I give you can be realized, check out that video right there. It's a very popular one on the channel. I'm Jerry from Simply Cyber. Until next time, stay secure.